I'm busy watching the Star Trek series called Voyager, and the one thing that I've noticed, I've watched all the series in Star Trek, and the one thing that I've noticed is, if you're familiar with Star Trek, is that it plays off obviously in the future of mankind, and it's basically starts off with the original Star Trek series where they're able to now go into space and go and explore the space around, closest to Earth. And then each series basically plays off where they build more powerful ships and they make allies with powerful races like the Vulcans, and therefore they create the Federation, which is basically a peaceful group which will basically create, you could say, agreements with other races to protect each other and assist each other as they participate in their journeys through space, and that if you come across a hostile species, then whoever is part of the Federation will come to your aid and support you. Each series that comes out basically depicts them building more powerful ships and better technology so that they can go deeper and deeper into space and take on, the bigger bullies that, live in space without getting themselves blown up. So by the time you get to Star Trek Voyager, they've got a very powerful ship. The Voyager ship is very powerful, and basically the entire foundation on which Star Trek is based on, and which I've noticed a lot of sci-fi programs and movies are built on the foundation that it plays off in the future where, have you noticed, humanity is advanced and have come to the realization that poverty, they bring an end to poverty, they bring an end to the societal structures which caused abuse. So I've come across this in a couple of sci-fi programs that I've watched, where they'll meet new races and the race will say to them, how do we know we can trust you? How do we know you're not hostile? And then they'll explain to this new race that humanity once used to be abusive and corrupt and only out for self-interest, and allowed things like abuse and poverty and war, and then came to a realization at some point that this is not what is best for all, and that everything is getting worse and worse and worse as it goes along, and eventually humanity will self-destruct because there's nowhere else to go. Like where we are now, there's nowhere else to go other than things getting worse, which they are. Everything is cycling and compounding to one point, which is, we're becoming one and equal to what we've always accepted and allowed, and everything is becoming more intense. Humanity is becoming more desperate, more corrupt. Those who are in control of power and money are finding new and better ways to impulse people and control people for the control of money. And those who are being controlled, you could say the working force, the average person like you and I, are finding more. If you look at the internal processes that we are experiencing, we're becoming, the friction inside of us is causing us to become more expressive within the actual experience of ourselves. The conflict, the fear of survival, the fear of death, the fear of not having money, not being able to take care of yourself, the emotional conflict points, which is based in the point of, I, say for example, have accepted and allowed myself while growing up to be emotional from the perspective of wanting to be noticed, or being afraid that others will see me a certain way. And throughout my life, I will, say for example, strive to stabilize myself within my emotions. We're not talking about stability here as a self-directed movement within breath, but instead what humanity is doing and what we're all busy doing is we're trying to become or we are becoming more and more emotional. We're allowing more and more thoughts, we're generating more thoughts to try and appease the ego, because everybody is becoming more and more frantic to try and, you know, find self-value and find self-love, while everything in the world is getting worse and worse and worse. And the criteria of the world for you to be accepted has become, have you noticed, has become more and more frantic. For example, what was considered beauty, say in the 80s, where, you know, nice complexion and maybe blonde hair and, you know, wearing like the nicest latest fashion, that's not the criteria these days. I mean, now you're having young children who are going for plastic surgery, breast enhancements, you know, young little children who have rich parents, and that's what they ask their parents for their birthdays and Christmas. And women are completely obsessed with trying to appear a certain way. Fashion has become a complete obsession where it's not about anything practical, it's about these obscene garments, which of course you have your points within the matrix like Lady Gaga, who absolutely enforce that separation within the mind. She's impulsing people the whole time to follow ridiculous trends. I mean, you cannot actually wear the crap that she wears in her music videos, yet people are being impulsed through that ridiculous, impossible to achieve imagery, that if you don't look absolutely gorgeous and you don't appear the coolest and the trendiest, then screw you, you're not going to be noticed in this world. So therefore what I'm saying is the emotional turmoil of the human is becoming more extensive. Our thoughts are becoming more extensive of what we will accept and allow within ourselves to try and experience self-validation and validation from others. So basically these sci-fi type episodes that I'm noticing is they're saying that humanity went through this phase that we're going through now, where humanity was about to self-destruct. Now this is where we're heading to. If you absolutely go and look at self-honesty, go back 50 years and look at how the only evolution that exists is the evolution of man as the mind, of what we are accepting and allowing within ourselves, within the money system, within how we create this world. So the sci-fi programs that I've been watching, they basically say that then everything came to, you could say, to a halt, where humanity realized we cannot carry on this way, or we are busy self-destructing. We are becoming monsters. We are not spiritual beings. We are not anything in the image and likeness of a god. We are just out to, get our own self-image, self-interest, money, greed, survival, and it's just compounding and becoming more and more. So they basically will say that humanity got to a point where everybody stopped, and all the, you could say, the governments and the leading bodies came to an agreement of an equality-based system. That's one of the things I've realized. They'll speak about an equality-based system where they went and they stopped poverty, they stopped war, they stopped, all these systems that were in place, the world systems, that were supporting and had an outflow and a consequence of abusing another. In other words, they started taking into consideration that if we don't support all equally, and if we don't do what is best for all, and do for thy neighbor as you'd want to do for yourself, and love thy neighbor as thyself, we're screwed. We're going to self-destruct. And it was only then that they were able to actually then go into space, because they had sorted out humanity. Because wherever these the Star Trek people go to, whatever planet they go and visit, they communication with alien species, they speak about humanity now being at a point where they are satisfied that they can now explore other races, because now in exploring other races and exploring new things in the galaxy, in the universe, they are satisfied that they can go about and explore, because they've sorted out planet Earth. Now currently planet Earth is that which they are speaking about in these programs, which I find very interesting, We are now at that stage where everybody is just in absolute survival of the ego, survival of the mind, trying to get to a heaven and a God, and completely disregarding the physical reality and what is actually happening in the world, for us to be able to survive and live and eat and have a roof over our heads. And for us to be able to pay attention to the ego of the mind, beauty and fashion and, accessories and technology and the prettiest, newest things, what is actually happening in the world for us to be able to have that. And we are now at that point where humanity hasn't yet realized that the fun that we're having now by exploiting and abusing the planet and each other is going to eventually have a consequence. We are already becoming one and equal to that which we accept and allow. So that is my vlog feedback on Star Trek, and generally the sci-fi message which is coming through, which is for humanity to now start looking at what is our future, what are we willing to accept and allow our outcome to be as humanity. Are we going to self-destruct? Are we just going to ride the wave of humanity's destruction, just go, well, there's nothing I can do about it, so I'm going to have fun while I'm here? Well, are you actually going to take self-responsibility, especially if you're bringing children into this world, to actually say, what world do I want for my children's children? What if I come back here? To stop seeing it as, oh, I'm buggering off to heaven to go and live with my deity. It's not about that. It's about, you have created this world, and you're not creating this world and it does not have consequences. Look around you. Watch the news. Pay a bit of attention to the consequences and the outflows of our participation here on this planet.